Joining me is Judith Sloan, a former productivity commissioner, an economist, and now columnist with the Australian newspaper. Judith Sloan, thank you so much for your time. Can you explain to me why AGL has done this, brought forward by a decade the closing of Loy Yang, Victoria's biggest power station?
Well, it's a very good question, Andrew, because actually at the beginning of this year, AGL had confirmed to the market that Loy Yang A would continue to 2045, right? So just over 6 months down the track. And I think you might have seen the acting CEO of AGL to talk about a change of government, shareholders, politics, whatever. And so that brought that forward by the closure by 10 years. And bear in mind, Loy Yang A is a big station. So it's 2,200 megawatts. It's about 30% of Victoria's power. And here is a really, really important point that isn't being picked up in the discussion, is that it's fired by brown coal. Now, brown coal does have no alternative use. You can't export it. It doesn't have a market value beyond it being located near an electricity generating station. So in other words, it's actually a really good hedge at the moment because the input prices of other electricity generation, black coal and gas in particular, have gone up a lot as a result of global events. So, you know, we're not just losing 2,200 megawatts of reliable generation, 30% of Victoria's power. We're also losing a relatively cheap and continuing to be a relatively cheap source of power.
That's an excellent point. But I'm just wondering how AGL can just blithely say, well, we're going to cut off 10 years of the life of this power station, this giant power station, we're going to get rid of it. How can it make money doing that? Is that because this is going to bump up the value of its green power at our cost, of course, as consumers?
Well, of course, AGL's been an incredibly badly run company for a very long time. It's lost a tremendous amount of market value. And I'm not sure I'm allowed to say this these days, but, you know, it doesn't know whether it's Arthur or Martha, really. It probably could have, if it had been a well-run company, made quite a lot of money out of its very substantial coal-fired power assets, but it's chosen a different track. The trouble is, you choose that different track, there are plenty of comers. There are plenty of rent seekers in that. So it's not even clear that they will succeed. But here's another irony, and this is something that the Dan Andrews government definitely likes to hide. They are actually currently paying Energy Australia to keep the Yallourn brown coal-fired power station going, right? I think at the moment we expect that subsidy to continue to 2028. It's absolutely impossible, Andrew, to find out the details of this. So we have the Minister, Lily D'Ambrosio, talking up, you know, the green dream. And while at the same time, as far as I can see, it's Victorian taxpayers who are paying Energy Australia to keep Yallourn going.
Look, I feel really quite, you know, at a loss here. We seem to have absolute green zealots now in charge of our energy assets in this country. We're powerless to do anything to stop them. They have this fire in their eyes. We are going to be losing more than half our coal-fired power stations in the next 13 years, probably more actually, but you know, this is cascading. These include our biggest, starting from next year. So we've got Liddell, we've got Eraring, we've got Bayswater, we've got Loy Yang, Queensland power stations, 2 in Perth, probably more. Have we got the power supplies to fill the gap?
Well, you know, I think in many ways, I mean, Loy Yang A is a serious announcement, but the Queensland Green Dream is possibly even more of a worry, because don't forget, under the national electricity market, all these markets are linked. Now, Queensland has relatively modern coal-fired power stations. So they could have kept them going well beyond 2035. And I guess they're kind of, in with the latest green dream, which is, yes, we need firming, we need storage. And so we're going to build these pumped hydro schemes. No one in the local areas knows anything about them. The Queensland government have got not a good record in building dams. And there has been one in far north Queensland, which is called the Kidston Project, which is a disused gold mine. Well, that has literally been on the cards for a decade. I understand there's a bit going on now. It'll be quite small beer when it is actually finalised. So, someone's told Anastasia that, talk about pumped hydro because everyone will get excited about that. But the kind of level of detail and the engineering.
Yeah, but the thing is too, with pumped hydro, Judith Sloan, with pumped hydro, they don't actually create electricity. You have to make the electricity to put into the system to pump water uphill to get it back. I mean, you then have to build all the wind farms as well. I mean, it's just, I don't get it. Judith Sloan, thank you so much for your time.